So we're going to jump right into the interview. So the first thing we'll start with is Jennifer spitting out her food, and then she will introduce you as Reed.
You just got to say it all. You got to say every bit of it.
Reed Verdesoto. Reed knows that, listen, I've worked long enough with Reed that he knows I don't hold anything back. So some of my guests I filter myself with, but Reed will not be one of them.
This is awesome.
He said yesterday, I got my first, tell us how you really feel comment from Reed yesterday. And I was like, you're in an inner circle.
Now you know.
Now you know.
You know. Oh, crap.
She's spilling soda. I'll get it later, Jennifer. Just. Do you want to know that I moved the snake, like the plugins over here to my
just
side?
Because you were like,
because I knew something was going to happen. And the soda just went over there.
I have to have some sort of a soda during this thing.
Okay, so we're here. This has been so we're talking to somebody on the computer today, and that's something that I've never done on a podcast. And so I've been really concerned about it. And if you notice, I elevated the table so that it's not in an awkward, I want them looking up our nostrils. So I had to elevate the table.
I've been asking for a table for so long because I think it would be nice to be in this YouTube format without me having to hold my stomach in.
You're cropped out. I've been cropping you out because you told me to do that. And so,
thank you. Thank you for the cropping.
But anyway, so it's been wild to set it up. I'm nervous about it. I hope it works out, but it is a new world with us sitting by each other on this couch and the computer and all the audio stuff that has to go correctly. I
hope I don't mess anything up.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it goes okay.
Well, let's get started.
I would love to get started. Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the CityRise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't really know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast.
Did you almost say dinner party?
Nope. I'm sure I'll never do that again.
Never again.
Oh, my goodness. I'm just so glad to be here with everyone today.
Yep.
I think I'm one of the 180,000 people that went to Taylor Swift this weekend.
Well, my question is, how many people can that NRG Stadium seat? Because she did it 3 times.
Oh, I know. I want to say 60,000, but I may be off on that.
Okay, still.
It was spectacular.
My biggest question for you is getting out of the concert. How long did that take?
Not long at all. We left a couple of songs early because I was afraid. I was so afraid because we were taking the Metro out. So I was afraid of how long.
Okay.
And just to be honest, between the two of us and whoever's listening, once the secret songs were played, you knew there were about 4 more songs.
You knew the rest, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're kind of holding on, and there were a few that we really wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And she didn't choose those. And then my group was like, we're out. I'm like, wow. But I really like a couple of more of these songs. They're like, we're done.
Oh my gosh.
No, they weren't that bad.
I think you made the wise choice because my wife went on Saturday and she did the same thing. She metroed in. I think it was just one stop. They parked one stop down and metroed in or whatever. And she said the line for the metro after the concert would have taken literal hours. And they were piling people in it. And so her and her friends were like, well, what do we do? And so they hired a little pedicab man to take 5 humans. 5 humans on a pedicab.
I saw those pedicabs
3
lined up.
miles.
They had tons of them lined up at the metro station.
Yes, and that's why. And my wife took one. And it was $35 per person for the 30-minute ride.
Person?
Yes. And so that guy raked in the cash. So I just can't believe that humans are capable of doing that. This is workhorse effort to me, is to take a cart full of 5 humans. And I don't care how many gears are on that bicycle. That has to be a tough job.
I bet I knew which one they took too, because they were all lit up in different colors and they had music.
Yeah.
And it was a real fun time.
Kristen said it looks fun, but in reality, it is terrifying because he goes in the middle of traffic. They're not staying on the side. They're literally going down the middle of Main Street, which is a chaotic street anyway.
That is pretty chaotic.
She said she doesn't want to do it ever again. She said it got them to their car and she was happy with that. She also said on the way out at the Metro parking station, they took cash only, which is nuts to me in this day and age. And so they got to the front, and literally no one had cash. And the woman was just like, Merry Christmas, get out of here. Like,
really?
Because like,
gosh, how could we even know about this?
Yeah.
So we took the metro out. We were up, I think, 3 stops,
Okay.
and we park in the Med Center. My husband parks there every day, and he has a park pass right around the Marriott.
Okay.
So we just parked there at Scarlock Tower, jump on the metro, right in. So that part was really easy. Getting to our seats was really easy because we didn't show up until like 7:20.
Yep.
But it was so fun.
Well, I'm so glad you had a good time.
It was a great
How'd your shirt
time.
work out? The shirt that
my
your staff made?
was amazing.
Okay, good.
My team helped me glitter it up.
Yep.
And it was just a fun time with your kid. It was like really memorable. And I always think that part of our lives, it's so good to have these really cool, memorable moments with our families.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you get old like me, those are the things that stand out. Remember that time?
Right.
I still remember the time when my family took me to see a circus.
Wow.
Like a real circus.
Wow.
It could also might have been a family reunion. But anyway, but I remember being at this circus with clowns and things on stilts and elephant. I'm literally 3 years old.
Wow.
Remembering this, maybe 4.
That's
it may have been
wild.
8. But anyway.
That's wild.
And I still remember them getting a Hershey chocolate bar. And so I think it's cool when we invest in these really memorable times with our kids. I think it's meaningful. It's fun. Speaking of investing in things that last and connect us.
You didn't let me get to share my weekend.
Justin, how was your weekend?
I had a really big moment that you don't seem to care about.
Was it your birthday?
No, I took my children to the beach alone.
That's right.
You didn't know that because you lost your TikTok app, but I made videos about the experience.
I actually saw your Facebook and you said, I'm putting this here now. So it will remind me every year.
It's so funny. Yes.
Another significant event.
Yes, I took my kids to the beach by myself. I was terrified. We did survive. I did learn one really important thing as a parent, especially a dad, when you're by yourself with your kids. If you look clueless enough or overwhelmed enough, so many other parents will step in and help you. Like, I don't know if it's the same for moms. I hear like it's kind of a double standard, but I was like so clueless and a little bit overwhelmed. Like on the first day at the beach, my kids just start drifting apart and I'm like, someone is going to drown. So I'm like having to post up and watch my kids like 60 feet, 100 feet apart from each, like make sure nobody died. And then my son just ended up stealing this person's grandma, and he like had an adopted Meemaw for the afternoon because she was like playing with her granddaughters. And he just like joined them as their family, and like literally she's like holding his hand and he's jumping in the wave. Like I would have loved him in doing that, but if I'd been focusing on him, I couldn't have focused on Maggie. Like
you're
I literally,
thank you, stranger Memo.
I had to define it. So that Meemaw stepped in, and then Maggie like inserted herself in this family with boogie boards, and they're teaching her how to boogie board. So like. It was interesting. The very first day, I was already unable to do my job by myself, but other people could sense that and they took over for me.
Justin, I honestly think that that's how it was supposed to have been before we got in. Before we are where we are.
Right.
That's how it was supposed to have been, where everybody works together.
Right.
And it's joyful.
Yes.
And it's not so siloed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really cool.
It worked out great. We survived, had a great time.
Well, the pictures are beautiful.
Well, it was a great trip. The weather was mostly nice. It was a little windy, but we found a nice hot tub and had a good time. And there was like nobody there because everyone was at Taylor Swift.
It sounds like a great time. I know the whole city's like emptied out into this one building.
So Galveston was not crowded at all. And we had a good time.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Well, I'm glad today. I'm glad that we have a pretty great guest.
Yes.
I'm excited about the conversation, and I think you guys will be too. So I'm excited about our guest today. I know that we've had a lot of hubbub about our new app, and I thought Justin was really thoughtful because you decided to get in touch with our app developer and visit with him today so we know a little bit about who was behind this, who helped partner with this. So I'm really excited today to introduce to you Reed Verdesoto.
There you go.
And he is a platform-specific app developer.
Wow. Is that right, Reed? Is that close?
Yeah. I develop platforms and design them because they're all different and want to know why they're different, so we design them different. Yeah. That's what I do.
So in our Get to Know You talk, where I accidentally, unceremoniously spilled Diet Coke on half of your wires in here, Reed let me know he has developed over 300 apps.
That's a lot.
Reed, did you develop Candy Crush?
No.
Because if you did, I've got some very specific questions about that. I'm guessing you didn't develop TikTok.
No, I did not.
He wouldn't be talking to us, that's
nothing
for
to do
sure.
with that.
Well, tell us this, Reed. You live north of Pittsburgh, and we were actually talking about the weather. It sounds a little bit like our own this time of year, up and down. Tell us about growing up in that area of the country, how you found your faith, and a little bit about you personally.
Yeah, sure. So I actually grew up an hour north of Philadelphia, which is 300 miles to the east of Pittsburgh, but went to college in Pittsburgh, which is where I met my wife. And now, I'm located above that. But I started off in a non-Christian home, and I was in theater and music from a very young age, in the arts. And when I was in 8th grade, I went to a sleepover at my buddy's house, basically every single weekend. And they said on Saturday night, they said on Sunday morning, you're either going home or you're coming to church with us. So we went to Catholic church, and Mrs. O, she called me the Royal Roadblock, because when everyone went up to go get communion, I was in the way. I had really long legs. And she says, do you want to do something about that? Do you want to stay in the way, or do you want to go get communion? I was like, I guess go get communion. And so I started going to meet with Father David's about that, and eventually got to take communion and got baptized. But it didn't really hit home really until I came to college. And I went nowhere for the first semester at the University of Pittsburgh. And then my first week back at Pitt, I decided, I saw the doors open of a church, and it said, Cornerstone, 8:30, 8:40 at night. Come on in, college students. I was like, I really should go. And I went in, and I was able to meet people who believed in Christ and were focused on bringing college students into a relationship with Jesus. I really understood from the start with talking with them that I have a Lord and a Savior. Yes, the Savior part made a lot of sense. The Lord part was a lot harder to, work out your faith in fear and trembling, that aspect. So through the CCO, which is the Coalition for Christian Outreach, they are a ministry that works specifically with college students. And so I had a mentor who brought me under his wing and, explained to me the gospel and what it meant to be a believer and how to own my faith. And what happened was my propensity for music, my desire for, I'd been in theater. I'd been, doing music professionally since I was, I think, 8 years old.
Wow. That's, did you know Justin was in theater?
No, I mean, I wasn't doing professional theater at 8 years old.
But he was a theater major at UT.
Yeah.
So, eventually people find out that you do that. And they're like, oh, could you do this for us? Yeah. Oh, do you think you could sing at church? Do you think I was like, yeah, okay. And I had a bright red mohawk, and I was aggressively nonconformist. I was skateboarding. I was, doing art. I was, in this thing. And I found a Jesus who cared for the poor and cared for the homeless and cared for widows. And I started with an opportunity to care for my neighborhood and care for my people and do worship. It was pretty cool. So I did that. Long story short is everybody who is in worship or in arts is like, great, can you fix the sound? Great, you fix the sound. Could you fix the board? Great, you fix the board. Could you fix that amp? Great, you fix that amp. There's some technology. Could you fix the website? Hey, we found this thing. It's called an app. Do you think you could build it? None of which we actually know how to do at all. But because you're in ministry, you just have to do these things.
That's so funny. You do, if you can work on the soundboard, it should just be called the springboard. You have there's no telling where you'll end up in ministry. Yeah. So I think, I think what's a lot that's powerful about your story is that it's just as simple as we're going to church tomorrow. If you're spending the night, you're going to church with us. And I think, how did your parents respond to you being a believer? How do they?
Well, this is also funny. You can see a little poster behind me, Jesus Christ Superstar. That was the first show I did, and I was in it for a total of 20 years. So I really got to understand the gospel. Yeah. I was in it for 20 years.
Where were you doing this at?
This is out in Philadelphia at the Keswick Theater and Villa Victoria Academy. So I started in the overture as little Jesus, just like raising my hands and putting him down just in the overture before he becomes like a man, right? They just needed someone who was like, that looked like enough like Jesus in the temple at 11, right?
Yeah.
I think I was actually 9 when I started.
Yeah.
Right. And then this is really funny. Like the when you have your resume, Jesus Christ Superstar, it's, well, I started as Jesus, and then I became a leper, and then I became an accuser, and then I became an apostle, and then I became Simon, and then I understudied for Jesus, and I've never had the opportunity to like do the full show as Jesus, although I've done it like 500 times in my kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
like I have done Superstar so many freaking times.
Yeah. So what do you think about when they did it on NBC a few years ago with John Legend and like the other crowd?
I love it. Like, I love all the versions of Superstar, just because it's a rock opera and it's supposed to be done like crazy. Like, like when I listen to Wicked, I'm like, this is a musical theater, and I expect like Kristen Chenoweth's voice to like always be there, right? Like, it has a feel. But Superstar, you're just like, this could be anything. Like, anybody could do this. This is going to be a rock opera. So, I mean, I love it.
No, it was powerful. And did you watch on NBC when they did it live, like at Easter? It's so funny that like when you see like secular culture tap into like around religious times of year, sometimes they'll do something huge like that. And it was just such an interesting thing to see that presentation on NBC, and like literally like the closing tableau is like this glowing cross that's like, 50 feet high. Like, it's just crazy to see that on TV. So it was really neat. I don't know if you can watch it anywhere, but it was pretty powerful to see that. So it's just funny that was like 20 years of your life.
Yeah, and it had a really big impact on me because the way that we did it in the show was the director, we would go through, it's the 5 days of Holy Week as seen through the eyes of Judas Iscariot. So it gives this like ability to do it differently and not see Jesus as a savior, right? It's just how Judas views it, right? And so we go through the crucifixion and Jesus dies and on the cross, and it's this tableau, and the curtains close, and they didn't do a curtain call. They're just like, it would ruin it. Like, all of a sudden, Jesus like, hey, everybody, like, bow. Thank you so much for being able to do this. Yeah. And like, but like, it ruins the story that way, but it also like, we should, like, he's risen. So it was a very odd way to like, for me to like practice my faith and have this great piece of media, this great piece of art to like, when I'm having like the crucifixion explained to me and what Jesus did, like I'm singing these songs in my head and I know what's going on and I can see this. And so then as a believer, when I did it a couple years ago, I was playing Simon again. And, he's like, I want you at the end, like watching Jesus die and losing your hope. Like, you're one of the last to leave from the stage. And it was just so overwhelming to like force myself into that space to have no hope. Right. It was terrible. I remember like weeping and bawling like at that point. Right. And then the curtain goes down. I'm supposed to stop. And like, I'm fine now because the show's over, but like I physically couldn't stop crying because my body was like, we're into this already. So just
fully
keep,
committed.
and my friends were like, are you okay? I was like, yes, I'm fine, but my body's just doing this. And I just couldn't stop crying.
That's really, I think that's an incredible story. I have not seen Jesus Christ Superstar. I guess I need to come out and just
that's
admit
wild. Then you do need to look up the one
now
online.
that I've talked to Reed, I have to go see it.
Yeah, it's good. I
have to figure it out.
It's good. Sarah Bareilles was the one on NBC. It was great.
So Reed, you help develop apps, and our church has taken the leap. And actually, I was looking online, and it really is a space where we have to be in. I mean, over 40% of people are now giving to the church through an app. It's a community, it's a connection. It's really valuable. What have you, is it mostly church apps that you work on?
Yeah, I want to know how you even got in this field. So like, you're talking about your major was theater, you started doing stuff at a church. Was it literally because you were volunteering in a church, they wanted an app and you just followed that trail? Like, you have no like background training in this?
Yeah. I mean, like, so when I was like in youth ministry for a long time, and they're just like, hey, we need our own website. So like, great. I went to Squarespace and I asked a guy at church who was really good at it to do the design work. And I was like, I want to change the button colors and I don't have that control. Let's look up some CSS. I love stealing stuff and repurposing it. Like, I have this like voracious, like, appetite for like opening something up and using the parts and like doing it again, putting it back together.
Yeah.
I don't create stuff. I parody things, like I repurpose.
Right.
And I actually, if you look me up on YouTube, I do have a parody on there that went viral, like millions of views.
Now you're talking Jennifer's language. This is what she cares
We
about.
have to find.
What was it about?
But so you know the song "Shut Up and Dance with Me"?
Yeah.
I sang it to my kids, "Shut up and go to sleep," and it just took off.
Wow.
Yeah. I've done parodies of All About That Bass, All About That Gift.
Wow.
I did Billie Jean from the perspective of Joseph, the kid is not my son.
Wow.
So like, I love parodies.
That's
Wow.
cool.
They're my favorite.
We will look it up.
We have to add some links in here.
Yeah, but you kind of through that kind of like taking what someone else has done and repurposing it like that.
Yes.
Landed you in the app space.
So that type of posture for me of grabbing something and like repurposing it has always been my thing. How can I make this do something that is not supposed to doing? So I went to Pitt for engineering, but I reprogrammed a vending machine to be an instrument. And he's like, that's not what you're supposed to do. I was like, you didn't say that in the rubric. He's like, you know what you were supposed to do. I was like, fine.
But that's genius. But that's genius to repurpose a vending machine to be an instrument.
Well, yeah, it had little servo motors. I could get to go different speeds, so it could play notes to me.
So that is interesting.
Really cool.
So when it comes down to like getting an app, so my pastor realizes this about me, and he's like, you did planning center, right? You program our people, right? We have a giving solution and it's in this app. Can you get it up and running so that we can give it to the college students before they go home on Easter break in 3 weeks?
Wow.
I was like, I can look into it. So I went and I built it in 48 hours because I had to submit it because they said you need 2 weeks. And the company, which we built on a platform called Subsplash, like, oh, you can't do that. It's too fast. I was like, okay, like, what do I need to get finished? They're like, well, you need this thing and that thing. So I finished it. They're like, oh my gosh, you're done. How did you do that? I was like, I don't know. It's a good product. Like, it made sense to me. You gave me only 4 tools to use. So I used them as best I could. I launch it and I get my people to use it. And the salespeople said, wait, I have people who say no to this product because they don't have someone like you on their staff to do it. Can we sell you? Can we suggest your name? And eventually Subsplash said, hold on, like, this is an outside guy. Let's make this a real product. Let's contract him to do this for our people. And it became, a little side gig, but the pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, everyone is in here saying, I need to be able to stream. I need an app. I need to be able to connect with my people. And Subsplash said, well, would you like to become a temp and work with us and, potentially come on full time? So I in May of the pandemic, I joined them and worked with them and decided that I didn't want to live, where I was for the time. So I moved to Barbados for 4 months, just up and took the family and moved and did that there. And when I got back home, Subsplash is like, you know what? You live in Pennsylvania and Barbados, and like, we don't have a business model that can support those states or that country, right? But mainly Pennsylvania, we can't hire you. I was like, oh, this is terrible. Like, can you start your own business and can we contract you that way? And you do implementation for people. So they started selling this product in which they could say, well, what do you want done? And I took this model as, well, you know what? Most people don't actually know what an app is or how it works or why it works this way. To be perfectly honest, I don't want you to tell me what you want me to put in the app. I want you to tell me what you want to see done. And I want to tell you specifically for the platform what can be done on that. Right. And so I started making this like course of teaching people how to tell me your story and I'll tell you how we can distribute it. Right. And so then I got really, really good at this. And then of course I'm, in the back end of their dashboard and in the technology, I'm stealing code and trying to figure out how to repurpose things and how to get stuff up here. And people are saying, how do you do that? They're like, well, we can't do that. And they're like, Reed can do it. I was like, yeah. Like,
you're that guy. So talk to Reed.
It became, yeah. And so the salespeople and Subsplash, I mean, they're just wonderful. They have always been on my side, and they just, when someone comes and contacts them, they say, we'd like to do this. Like, we don't have that, right now, but you should talk to Reed.
Wow.
Right. And so they suggest me. So when your church was looking for an app and how to do this, they said, we have this product, but honestly, if you want to launch this well, you need to contact and talk with Reed. So Chris Hudson called me up and we had lots of conversations. And I've just been asking questions and getting to know you as a person who didn't know you existed, right? Like, how could I possibly care about the things you care about? Right? By listening to you, I find what you do care about and I say, well, if we want them to be able to do this, then we should have a button that helps them get to there instead of 5 clicks or Google searching or this and making these places, because I really care about user experience and the design that helps them to get and do that thing. Because I don't care what actually is there. I care about the outcome. Do you want people to have information? Great. If they have information, see you later. Doesn't matter, information. Do you want them to do something? Well, then we have to give them an action to do.
Right.
What do you want to see completed?
Right.
And so that's what I've gotten into. And I teach now at conferences about platform-specific design. YouTube is different than Facebook, which is different than the website, which is different than an app. A website is all about trying to sell you a product, get you in one story to say, I want this, right? I'm the right person. You're totally right. I want Hulu.com, right? I want to be a member of Hulu, but you never go back to Hulu.com, right? You go into
the app,
the log in, or you go to the app. And then I propose that every good app delivers a balance first. When you open up your bank's app, it doesn't say get a new credit card and refinance your home. You're just like, please stop selling me stuff. I just want to check my balance.
Right.
So when you open up Facebook, you check your balance. And when you open up Hulu app, you check your balance. And when you open up your phone and you open up your camera, you're like, oh, I can take a picture of you. And then down the bottom left-hand corner is the last photo you've taken showing you your balance. Do you need to retake that photo? Or is that good enough? And so once I started doing that and teaching that to people, the philosophy, now we've got a groundwork, right? A foundation on what we can build this stuff on.
Yeah, that was a big change for us. Going into the app, I think we had perception of the purpose of the app, and Reed came in and said, actually, this is what an app should be for. And I could see the shift in our leadership go like, oh, that's a better idea than what we had. So even at the very beginning, I think our thought was like, oh, this app is going to take over the world. And he's like, it can, but what it really should start with is how are you connecting with and ministering to your people who you already have, the people that are part of your community. And then it's going to grow. People are going to join your community by joining the app, as opposed to, TikTok was just blasting content. This is far more of a relational thing. So talk a little bit about, for people who just don't understand, they're like, what are we doing? Like, why does a church need an app? I love our website. I can find everything I need. What is the purpose of an app for a church member?
Sure. Well, let's just talk about like the experience. Ask people right now, if you're watching this, how many of you know the actual URL to your website, right? And so it might be as high as 75%, but it could be like 30%, right? You guys are lucky that you have cityrise.org, but I'm an EPC church that has Gateway as the name. So we are gatewaychurchepc.org. So the first thing people are going to do is Google it, right? So you have to go to google.com, then you have to put in text, then you have to search, get the right version, click on that. If you didn't get the right one, you have to go click again. So we're now at 5 clicks, right? Then you have to go through the navigation to the children's page, to the events section to find out the thing that I want to sign up for the next event. All right. So we're at 8 clicks if you're successful, like pretty quickly to get in there. As opposed to your bulletin. This is another platform. This is a piece of paper that you look at the bulletin and says, youth event is happening. Here's a QR code. Okay, that's directing them this way to experience something. But you have to have the piece of paper in the hand. And if you change the date, it's printed. Like, trick question, like, when does your paper bulletin go out of date? The moment you print it, right? Now, with the app, we can go into the app and go to special events. But here's the thing. I can also deliver to you with push notifications the things that are appropriate to you at the right time so that you don't have to search for them. Remember, registration closed tonight at 8:00 and that hit at, 8 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this reminder. So we start offloading the need of memory, or offloading the need of checking another platform and reading through, to directly delivering the content that is needed to you, that's most appropriate to you.
Right.
That's great.
So
I think that's great, because even we've tried texts, we try email, we've done newsletters, we've done signs in people's yards, we've done tattoos, t-shirts. We have done everything we can to get up. And that's one of the biggest problems, is like keeping people up to date on anyway, it's hard. So I love that they have the push notifications. You've got to get this. It's brilliant. And it's all in one space. It's uniquely designed for people. They can add to it as they want.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not getting a bunch of stuff you're not as interested in or connected to. That's great.
And I think for our church too, our population, our senior pastor has a heart for those who are mobile, because our people are on the road. Like, they have jobs that take them out of town. They have travel ball. They have vacations. They have all these things. And his heart is, when someone leaves the city for the weekend or for the week or for the summer, how can we keep them engaged with Jesus and our community? And you can keep people engaged with Jesus through social media, but keeping them engaged in our community is not as easy on those already existing social media platforms. Whereas in the app, there's so much more power to keep someone connected from a distance. So that's really part of his dream, is like, okay, whether you're in our city or not, how can we keep you connected to God and us, so you're growing in your faith? And so that's what this app, I think, one of the biggest things it's going to do.
One of the things that I really like, I got a thank you from members at my church. The biggest thing actually was the congregational meeting. I had recorded it. Now, here's the thing. The congregational meeting, let's think about content. The sermon, everybody gets it, right? The worship service, everybody gets it, right? Maybe a devotion in the morning, the whole world should get that. Congregational meeting, I don't think everybody, that shouldn't be on my YouTube channel, but how else do we deliver it? So we send it in an email and say you can, and then you go search 3 weeks later, I forgot to watch. It's just hard to get, as opposed to a section in the app, which is CityRise stories or CityRise. It's just the stuff that is for people who are really our members, because no one's going to go and download your app first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's about the community. So when at my church, that congregational meeting, people were like, we were on vacation, and it was so great to be able to watch that and be a part of that. I just couldn't be there. It's not that I didn't want to, I just couldn't. And it was the only time. So they didn't get to hear it. And of course, everyone's streaming the live stream of the service.
Right.
But that congregational meeting, that was special for them, to have that and be able to have access to that.
I also think too, we send people on mission trips all throughout the year. So we're just like, you got to go on this mission trip. You have to get on there. It's going to be an amazing time. And they find out about the registration. But I feel like the app would be a place where you could actually put up pictures, send reports. If people want to follow someone's mission experience, they could do that through the app and just hit and have people do maybe daily testimonies. So you don't have to follow everything through the app. Maybe that's one space where you're hearing someone's daily, hey, today, this is what we're working on. This you could be praying for us. Yeah. And it engages a whole different, because there are people that are like, how did that mission trip go? What did you do?
Well, and it's temporary in that, you don't need that up for an entire year. You have it up while they're there, so it's so you announce that week, say, hey, this week in the app, you're going to see on the opening homepage, there's a button for keeping up with Kenya mission trip, and you're going to be getting stuff every day directly from them. It's a living, breathing tool, as opposed to, like I said, a bulletin or something. So that is just one, I think, glimpse of the millions of things you could probably do. So when we're talking about this app, what's some of the coolest things you think an app can do for a church that you're like, this is, you got something to say?
Well, I was going to say, I thought that was a pretty good idea.
I mean, that's a great idea.
Justin, that is a minute glimpse.
Here's the thing. This is the exact thing that I actually, you came up with the idea on your own, and I'm so excited about it, because Missions gets the short end of the stick.
Sure.
Okay? Missions gets one page on the website that they're just assuming everyone's going to go to, because when people say, I want my information on the website. They're not saying that they want it on the website. What they're saying is my information is important and I want to get it out to people. And I think that the website is the only way to get it out there. Right? Now, when we say, I want my information on the website, well, here's the thing. Missions doesn't really matter the same way to a brand new person as it does to a person who has been giving at your church for 25 years.
Right.
Okay? Now, Mom's Day Out free childcare means something much different to a person who is looking for outreach and wants to like, oh my gosh, like I can drop my kids off for 3 hours? Great. That is great on the homepage. But missions is so buried. It's also winds up, unfortunately, getting buried in the service as well, right? They get, 3 times a year where they can come up for 15 minutes and eat into the sermon, right? Like, well, we'll have to trim down our sermon for this, right? Now, all of a sudden, this is obviously part of it. You guys have your own podcast, right? Missions should have their own show. Once, twice, 4 times a month even, right? Where now they have a dedicated platform that because someone cared enough to register for a youth event, gets a push notification that says, check out the missions thing. So it's this rising tide. And now they can watch this show and be engaged. That's being live streamed and has chat and has, specific links. And they have a platform now that is designed specifically for them to connect with the people who actually care about those things in their church.
Right.
This device is in people's pockets for 168 hours a week. That's amazing.
One of the things I like so I was telling them earlier today, I think God removed TikTok from my phone. I woke up one day and it was just gone. I think that may have been the Lord because I was
reprogram that in the app. When you download the app, it recognizes your most idolatrous app and it deletes it. So that's a feature of CityRise
like
app.
I'm getting in touch with a free counselor to walk through this because I loved it so much. But in that app, going live in those places where, and that's one of the things I love so much about TikTok, is that you can be actually at these incredible, crazy, random. Are you on TikTok by any chance? I'm sure you're familiar with it, Reed.
Yes, I am. And, the algorithm, I know too much, right? So it's just like...
I don't want to even tell you what my algorithm is. It's so embarrassing.
I just pull back from those things.
Yeah.
So I'm not as big of a user of technology as I am in a designer because I specifically use certain technologies very heavily.
Sure.
Well, the thing is, the content that would be really, really, really meaningful to our people would get lost and almost ignored on social media in some ways. And so we would never get the traction on TikTok to get a missions report out to our people because the algorithm is set up only for viral content. And so what's meaningful to us may not be meaningful to the rest of the world. So to me, that's where the app goes. And also with the app, if we're creating, if we're getting content that's meaningful for our people for a week or a month on a mission trip, then we do find the most meaningful viral moment from that and share that to get the word out to the broader audience. So it's almost like you can cull from that the thing that we think would read the best on social media, as opposed to just like doing a post every day and it gets nowhere and doesn't even get in front of our people.
Right.
And that is platform specific design, right? That is exactly what it is. Realizing what each thing belongs on each platform because it asks a specific action of that person who is familiar with that, right? So this is one of my favorite stories about platform specific design. We don't get to say how people are going to use certain platforms. It just happens. So there's a boot in New Zealand. It is a farmer's boot. It is all leather sheepskin and it's really warm and it's very utilitarian and it's just like very lowbrow. Right? Like it's just very common piece. And they are surprised that in the United States, young American girls wear these as fashion items. These are Uggs. Okay. Now, other than Tom Brady and me, I have a pair of Uggs because they're so warm and my feet get so cold and they go above my ankle. And so like my feet don't get like cold under my desk. Right. But if I wear them out of the house, they're like, what are you wearing? I'm like, they're a farmer's shoe. I live on 120 acres. And people are like, nope, you are wearing young girls fashion Uggs. Right. Wow.
True.
Even though they were designed for something, we don't get to say how everyone else is going to use that tool. Mm-hmm. So when we try and force our websites to do this or try and force Facebook to do that, we're fighting an uphill battle.
Right.
right? And I don't want to make you have extra work. I want to reduce your work, right? I want to increase the desire for your church. Make people say, I want to be a part of that. I want to decrease labor, the amount of work that they have to do to understand what they're supposed to do. And then I want to decrease confusion. What do you want them to do now that they have that information? Right? So let's the website do what all great websites do. 70% of websites are for marketing, right? Apps are for checking balances. Social media is for this. YouTube is for searching, right? Like
It's true.
let's play into those things.
Right.
And have the right platforms that help us do that. And let's capture everything and then repurpose.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, I do have one question. Do you have any specific stories of a church that gave a testimony of like, hey, because of the app, this spiritual thing happened, whether it's someone getting connected, someone coming to know Jesus, whatever. Do you have any of those like specific stories?
I do. So this is one of my favorites. So I remember being in an app and we had launched messaging in the app. So everyone's able kind of to get in and chat. Now, earlier, there was a member of the church who was chronically being helped, just, needing a ride or needing food or needing like these people in our churches that we are caring for. But she never had the opportunity to serve anyone else because that's just what was happening in her life and, where she was, right? Well, all of a sudden inside the app, on Sunday morning, we have prayer, right? And in the live stream, we've got chat and then chat ends, right? Because it's the Sunday service. But now inside the app, chat is open all week long. And it is not just a send in your prayer requests, but everyone can kind of see these prayer requests. So someone got into the app and said, hey, I came down with COVID. I want to go back to work, but my work will not allow me to come back unless I have a negative test in hand, and I can't find them anywhere. This other woman who was, being chronically being served saw this and said, I'm at Walmart right now, and I see one on the bottom shelf. I'll pick one up for you. And I'll bring it to you. This is the first time she's ever been able to like serve in our church.
Wow.
Right? Like serve in that space. And it just, I don't know, just something switched for me. I was like, this is what it's like about. Like it didn't have to go through the pastor to be like turned around and like find someone else to do it. It was just like, we're the church. Right? Like I felt that happen. I was like, this is possible.
Right.
On so many other like stories and paradigms, this can happen. And I was really, really excited about that.
That's cool.
I really love that. Man, Reed, it is so good to talk to you. We have one question for you. When you're
and
not,
we all answer it. We
all answer it.
We call it the final question. It's like
the final question, and it is: when you're not on your own app, what is your favorite app?
And I'm going to say disclaimer. We're not going to say the Bible app. Like we know the Bible app's our favorite. But outside of the church app,
I like your voice. I know the Bible app is our favorite.
Outside of the Bible app, outside of the church app or whatever, what is something that, you probably couldn't live without? And you obviously are living without TikTok, so maybe you've moved past that.
Well, let me just tell you, since I've dropped TikTok and it's been 5 days.
Okay.
I have logged about 70 hours into Settlers of Catan online. That is how I'm surviving.
Well, keeping your brain sharp. I love
Free
that.
games on Settlers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
For me, I'm trying to think of the apps that, it's hard not to say TikTok because I'm on it all the time. But something that I wouldn't be, I guess, ashamed to share. When text messaging was invented, to me, that was a revolution. To have an app on your phone to communicate by text. And so if I'm looking at my phone and I really had to literally delete every app but one function, to me, I would not want to call people. It's not calling people. It is my messaging app because I don't want it's so important to me. It's just so ingrained in my life that I can't.
So does it drive you crazy when I call you?
I don't ever answer. You know that. No, that's true. I do answer. Here's the thing. I want to show this. No, I won't show it. But I have a picture of Jennifer just mid. She was shouting at some kid, and I take pictures of her at the church, and that's her phone. That's my contact for her. So when she calls me, I literally see Jennifer shouting at me. And so I answer primarily because it's just so funny to me. If I didn't have that picture, I don't think I'd answer it. And I will say the worst thing about that is one time someone wanted your contact information. And so I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, and you sent it.
I just shared it. And so some sweet like prayer warrior lady that leads our prayer ministry now in her iPhone has this same picture.
Well, it
of
certainly
Jennifer.
explains her prayer request note to me. So Reed, what about you?
All right. So I've got one for fun and one for use.
Love
all
it.
right.
Okay.
So fun, Marvel Snap. I play this game all the time. It's a quick card game. It is just kind of adding up these cards and these powers and these abilities, and you play these different lanes, and it's just a lot of fun. My kids like it. I can still beat them handedly at this game, so it's really great. But also, like when I'm at guys' night, like hanging out with my friends who all play like really long Settlers of Catan like games and these things that I just don't have like the focus to be able to do, we could be having like a conversation and play Marvel Snap and just like play against each other's like decks right from like our phone. So like as we play out in the world, we can come together and like play real time with each other. So it's a really fun way to do that. So that's
Jennifer,
my game, and
she's downloading it right now.
Andy,
she's already downloading
my husband is the biggest Marvel fan.
Marvel Snap is so much fun.
It's in SNAP Snap.
Yep, Marvel Snap. And I learned about this game because I have joined and I follow, and I'm a part of, I guess, a church that is 100% on Twitch and Discord only. And they're just geared for gamers, and bringing Jesus, love thy nerd, like is like one of their things that they say. Like this is like me being in technology, and I'm just amazed by it.
Wow.
All right, Lux Digital Church.
It's called Lux Digital Church.
Yeah, LUX, Lux Digital Church.
Wow.
Right? And it's just an amazing idea that we can be in this place where we have churches that are online, people who have handicaps or people who just don't have a local church, have never turned on their camera, can all of a sudden be a part of a church. Like this is blowing my mind, right? And I'm here for this new world of serving people through technology.
That's really exciting.
And so what they do is the pastor would stream him playing Marvel Snap for hours, like 4 hours at a time. Okay. And I would be out in the backyard splitting wood, listening to him playing just because I just needed something in my ears. Yeah. Right. And I would like comment about certain things, and I just got into the game and just loved it. And it's a really cool thing because someone will come into the chat room and say hi and say, hey, my name is, I hail from this church, and, what are your favorite games? What are you playing right now? We'd love to have you here at our church. And then just like pray for people in the middle. Like it's blowing my mind how to do this. So I found Snap through a church, right? Using it as a tool to bring people to Jesus. Okay.
And then what's the other one? You said you had one for use.
Okay.
Like
the other one is Skylight app. Now, what it actually is it is a digital touchscreen calendar that sits on my wall underneath my wife's paper calendar, because paper doesn't work. Because when I leave the house, what's on the calendar? I'm not standing next to that piece of paper.
Right.
But the digital calendar, when she puts it on there, it's like right underneath, like she can, like my kids can like select their chores and they can put their events on there. And so everything is synced. So I can see exactly when am I supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be, right? How long does it take for me to get to that location? Because it works with my my Google Calendar. It all interfaces, and it's a touch screen, and we can see it live right now all the time.
What's it called?
And I couldn't. It is called the Skylight app and the Skylight calendar.
And why is your wife still holding on to the paper calendar then?
Well, because she actually doesn't need the paper calendar. She needs to physically write it down so that she remembers. So when she took notes in college, she couldn't type them. She had to write them out, and then she'd write them again, and then she'd just go to the test. She'd take the notes once and then rewrite her notes and would remember everything. So it's that physicality. So she needs to physically write it, but like, I need you to put it in here. And so it is helping like us stay on that, because like I have my Apple Watch buzzes like, you have 10 minutes till your meeting, show up. Because I used to miss stuff all the time. I'm not like huge on having the Apple Watch. But it tells me like, you forgot your wallet again at the gym. Like, oh, okay. Like it's like, I just don't have that ability, right? I've got ADHD. It's my superpower and it's my super weakness.
It's so true.
But the calendar is the thing I cannot live without, and the Skylight is my absolute favorite.
I'll have to look at it.
Touch calendar.
My team is so annoyed with me because it's half digital and then half of it, but I have to write everything down too. but you can't take it. And my calendar's like big. It's like a big notebook. So what I do now is I take pictures of my calendar to keep in my photos.
Oh, jeez.
And
Yep.
and I don't ever enter everything. And I almost have like, let me go to church and see if I can do that.
That's wild to me. That's insane.
Does that make you crazy?
I can't understand it.
Oh, yeah.
I do need a notes app because I just sent all this to my husband in random text. All of my notes I send to my husband like he's turned half of them into band names.
Yeah. Instead of opening up her notes app standard on her iPhone, she will text her husband or other people
it's just random.
Just lists of things. Like, so she can go back and it's wild. It's wild. Anyway. Well, yes, Reed, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, this is huge. For those that want to download the app, cityrise.org/app is where you go. It's an incredible tool. Whether you worship with us in person or you live far away and you're listening, it's going to be full or already is full of content. We're in the middle of our Proverbs series. We're giving daily content and rooted content is going on there. And then we're going to keep building from here. I will say right now, we're just looking at kind of partially what this app can do. You don't just give everybody the whole like chaos because you got to grow into it. And so over the coming months, we're going to see phases of this app get even more and more and more and more useful for our community. So Reed has been a key player in that. I have a lot of meetings with Reed every week to talk about this app. We had like 10 other people trying to make it work, and it's been going really great. We launched it last week and feel good about it. So thank you, Reed, for joining us today.
Absolutely.
It's been huge, and we've just enjoyed working
Can we
with
share how many people are already on the app?
Right now, it's 900.
I can tell you, we've had 43,000 impressions inside the app.
So what does that mean?
People going in. So that means people go inside, and they're just like, that's an impression.
Okay.
Right? Now you have to do stuff in that. And every new place you go brings you to a new impression.
Wow.
And so we've had, I don't remember exactly what the number is of media views. It's in the thousands.
Yeah.
Right. But that means people are going to the contact us and going to the like visit the website or like get help. Like they're going to different places.
They're looking around. Like they're going around and exploring. Yeah.
Right. So like in my app, I have a button like, do you need counseling? Call the counseling office, right? Not go to their website and find. It is press the button. It will call them now, right? Cool. Like I've reduced that labor. So like so you guys are getting 43,000 impressions as of today, April 25th.
That's really cool.
And so it is really cool. It's really cool. Like I haven't seen these numbers before. Like you guys are doing a great job, right? I have to say this. Like this is really cool to see that big of a jump.
Cool. That's a lot of impressions.
Well, we're excited. We're going to be continuing this friendship with Reed for many months as we continue to get this app to develop and grow. But thank you for sharing with us, and we're so glad to have you with us today.
Yes, it's so good to meet you, Reed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
That was really cool. That dude's sharp.
Yeah, he knows a lot. Can we talk about this? When have you ever just pulled out a piece of candy on this show? Like, why did you wait till episode 102 to start like gnawing on Sour Punch straws? Like the Diet Coke thing was one thing. You spilled it all over the rug over there. I'm sure it's like burned into the carpet now. But then you just like what are you doing?
I don't know. I'm having a lot of anxiety. Justin, it's hard getting off of it.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a rough week.
Without TikTok. Okay.
It's been a rough week.
Okay. Well, if you made it this far, thank you for joining us. We had an incredible time with Reed. If you enjoyed this show, we'd love for you to send it to somebody who you think also would enjoy it. You can always email us at podcast@cityrise.org if you have any ideas of people we could talk to or any questions. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you listen to this and you want to see Jennifer eat this candy, you can look at the link in the description of this podcast. We do have a YouTube playlist of our most recent episodes. We're putting those online, and soon they're going to be on the app as well.
That's so exciting.
That's exciting. But
that's so fun.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, and that's all I got.
Well, in my defense, I think opened that candy with some pretty stellar quietness. So if you listen to the show, see if you can recognize it, but you can find it from Justin's face at me while it happens. It's so obvious. Okay, you guys, we hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing Podcast from the CityRise Network, based in Houston, Texas. CityRise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.